Have you ever stopped to think about the presence of deception in our lives? From the little myths that shape our culture to the everyday lies we tell to preserve relationships, deception is a powerful force that influences the way we connect and communicate. In this video, we'll explore how deception, far from being just an addiction, can be a survival tactic and even a creative tool. Follow us on this fascinating journey and discover why we cannot live without deception. The history of deception goes back to the dawn of civilization. Since ancient times, deception has always played a crucial role in the development of societies. In many cultures, the myths and stories told played a fundamental role in forming collective identity and helped to transmit moral values. The Egyptians, for example, used narrative deceptions to explain life after death and divine justice, while the Greeks created fables that, although based on fictional situations, contained valuable lessons about morality and human behavior. However, deception is not just limited to stories and myths. It is also present in personal interactions, where we often use small lies or omissions for different reasons, such as preserving feelings or avoiding conflicts. The Bible, with its parables, is a clear example of how deception can be used to instill wisdom and value important ethical aspects in human coexistence. Throughout history, deception has functioned as an adaptation mechanism, allowing individuals and groups to deal with the complexity of human relationships and the uncertainties of the world around them. Within this context, history teaches us that deception, far from always being a vice, can also be a survival tactic and a fundamental component of communication. Therefore, studying deception in history reveals not only its various manifestations, but also its evolution and importance in social interactions. The relationship between deception and trust is complex and multifaceted. In many situations, deception not only manifests itself through lies, but also by creating realities that allow trust to be built. When someone makes a promise, for example, there is an implicit understanding that that person wants the other person to trust their words. In a sense, the act of deception often occurs in a context of mutual expectation. A good example of this is in romantic relationships, where partners often protect themselves from painful realities with small omissions or camouflages of the truth. In the business world, trust also depends, in part, on necessary deception, such as in marketing campaigns. When a brand communicates its qualities, it can, in a certain way, distort reality to make its products stand out from the competition. This deception, which could be considered negative on a personal level, is often acceptable and even expected in a commercial context, as people can rely on the assertiveness that they are being attracted to something that can, in their interpretation, improve their lives. Therefore, deception is not directly opposed to trust, but is, in fact, an integral part of it. However, it is important to note that this relationship must always move from an ethical place so that trust is built and maintained in the long term. Thus, deception and trust can be considered sides of the same coin, where small truths and small distortions go hand in hand in the construction of cohesive and functional social relationships. Famous cases of deception permeate history and often illustrate both the consequences of deception and its possible uses. A notable example is the case of George W. Bush and the justification for the 2003 invasion of Iraq, where many argue that the government used misleading information to justify its actions. The impact of this mistake was colossal, resulting in years of conflict and instability in the region, driven by a breakdown in trust between leaders and citizens. Another intriguing example is the famous Watergate scandal, where a large-scale deception led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon. The case exposed how deception can hide at the highest levels of government, suggesting that even those in positions of power are not exempt from the consequences of their deceptive choices. On the other hand, there are cases where deception was used in a creative and positive way. The famous writer Mark Twain, for example, knew that deception could be an effective tool in his literature, using many elements of humor and satire to deceive the reader and simultaneously lead him to reflect on social and moral issues. These cases demonstrate that deception can have different nuances. Although often associated with betrayal and distrust, deception, when contextualized, can serve broader purposes, from social criticism to emotional protection. Therefore, the approaches we can give to deception vary depending on the context and consequences involved, configuring it as a powerful force in human history. the social function of deception goes far beyond the mere act of lying or hiding the truth. In many cultures, deception plays a crucial role in social dynamics and group cohesion. It often turns out to be a mechanism that helps establish social norms and regulate behavior. For example, in conflict situations, deception can function as a form of mediation. Through small distortions of the truth, people can avoid emotional outbursts and maintain peace in group interactions. This dynamic is notable in work environments and in personal relationships, where absolute honesty, although idealized, can be harmful. Furthermore, social deception is often used to protect individuals' self-esteem. In relationships, saying that someone looks beautiful or that the dish they prepared is delicious, even if it is not the absolute truth, can strengthen bonds of affection and create a more collaborative and friendly environment. This demonstrates that deception can, under certain circumstances, help sustain collective well-being. In the fields of art and performance, deception also has an expressive function. Artists use different types of deception to create meaningful experiences that question reality itself, challenging the public to reflect on their perceptions and beliefs. This use of deception as an expressive tool demonstrates its relevance in facilitating deep social dialogues. Therefore, although it is often viewed negatively, deception can also be a vital force that works towards social harmony, allowing individuals to navigate the complexities of life in society with a sense of balance and mutual understanding. White lies are a common phenomenon in our daily lives. They are those small distortions of the truth that we often use to avoid hurting someone's feelings or to escape embarrassing situations. For example, when someone asks if we like a dress that we don't like, it's much easier to say that it looks nice than to make a criticism that could displease the person. In this context, these small omissions or softened truths play an important social role. They help maintain harmony in relationships and avoid unnecessary conflicts. However, it is essential to reflect on the extent to which these lies are beneficial. If used excessively, they can create a culture of disregard for the truth, making it difficult to perceive relationships as genuine. On the one hand, white lies can act as a protection mechanism, preserving the self-esteem of others and ensuring a pleasant coexistence. On the other hand, care must be taken to ensure that these subtle deceptions do not become a habit, as this can lead to an environment of distrust and insecurity. Therefore, in this game between truth and deception, white lies are like tissue paper. Fragile, but still, they help to wrap human relationships with a layer of lightness and care. Understanding the function and impact of these little lies allows us to more wisely navigate our daily interactions, valuing both sincerity and empathy. The psychology of deception is a fascinating field because it helps us understand the deep motivations behind the lies we tell. Studies show that people lie for a variety of reasons, and these justifications are often linked to emotional and social factors. The desire to protect oneself, avoid conflicts, or create a positive image of oneself are some of the reasons that lead to deception. Furthermore, the social context in which we live can also influence our decisions to lie. In a world where expectations are high and the pressure to please is constant, deception can emerge as a defense strategy. However, it is important to emphasize that most lies are not created with the intention of causing harm. On the contrary, the people involved often only seek to protect themselves and others from oral pain. This instinctive behavior, on the other hand, can generate unexpected consequences in coexistence. A lack of clarity in relationships can lead to distrust and uncertainty among friends, partners, and family. Identifying why we lie can be the first step toward more open and honest communication, allowing us to better express our emotions, build healthier relationships, and cultivate an environment that values authenticity. Understanding the psychology behind deception helps us adopt a more conscious stance in our daily lives. Personal relationships are a scenario where deception can manifest itself in different ways, from small lies to secrets that can have a profound impact on the dynamics between those involved. Often, deception is used as a form of protection, where the individual tries to preserve the peace or happiness of others by omitting difficult truths. In a romantic relationship, for example, a partner may choose to hide frustration or a negative feeling for fear of damaging the couple's harmony. However, this practice, although well-intentioned, can lead to an accumulation of resentment and a gradual distancing between partners. Open communication is essential to the health of any relationship, as a lack of it can turn small mistakes into big misunderstandings. Furthermore, deception can arise in friendships, where loyalty and concern for another's feelings can lead to disguising true opinions or feelings. Although this strategy may seem valid at first, it also has the possibility of compromising authenticity in relationships. Reflections on the frequency and intention behind these distortions are important, as they help to chart a healthier path in personal relationships. Valuing honesty, even when difficult, can strengthen bonds and create a safe space where sincere dialogue is encouraged and respected. The consequences of everyday deception are often underestimated. Although they may seem harmless, small lies and omissions can add up and create a significant impact on social interactions. When a person gets into the habit of distorting the truth, even if it is slight and without the intention of causing harm, this can cultivate an atmosphere of distrust around them. In work environments, for example, a lack of transparency can make it difficult to collaborate and build cohesive teams, where honesty is a fundamental pillar. Likewise, in personal relationships, repeating small lies can generate insecurities, emotional withdrawal, and a gradual erosion of bonds of trust. Furthermore, deception can become a recurring practice, leading the individual to lose connection with their own truth. The reflection of this is a state of internal confusion, where authenticity is lost in favor of the acceptance of others. Therefore, the consequences of deception are not limited to the present. They reverberate over time, impacting the emotional and social health of individuals. To address these challenges, it is crucial to implement a culture of honest communication, where truth is encouraged and vulnerability is seen as a strength, not a weakness. By recognizing and addressing the consequences of everyday deception, we can reconnect with the value of sincerity and the importance of building relationships based on mutual trust. Throughout history, philosophers and thinkers have debated the morality of deception and its ethical implications. The discussion about whether deception can be considered a virtue or a vice largely depends on the context in which it is applied. One of the most intriguing aspects of this discussion is so-called benign deception, which refers to lies or omissions that are intended to protect others from emotional pain or to promote the greater good. This form of deception is often seen as not only acceptable but even necessary in many situations in everyday life. For example, in health-related matters, doctors may choose to omit details about a serious diagnosis so as not to cause immediate despair in the patient, allowing the patient to process the information in their own time. Furthermore, it is important to consider that some cultures value deception in certain circumstances. The concept of courting the truth suggests that telling little lies can be a way of showing care and respect for others' emotions. In this way, the ethics of deception can be interpreted as a delicate dance between sincerity and compassion. It is essential that the intentions behind deception are always evaluated. In this sense, ethics can be practical and pragmatic, where the result of deception should be an increase in general well-being, avoiding as far as possible causing harm. Therefore, deception is not a simple matter of right or wrong, but rather a complex spectrum in which consequences and intentions play crucial roles in determining whether it is considered a virtue or a vice. Deception is a recurring theme in several literary and philosophical works that explore human nature and its complexities. Authors such as William Shakespeare, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and Franz Kafka, among others, weaved profound narratives that deal with the idea of deception in its most varied forms. In The Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare presents deception as both a tool of justice and a mechanism of manipulation, where appearances often disguise the character's true intentions. This exploration of moral contradictions in ambiguous situations sheds light on how deception can challenge perceptions and reveal underlying truths about human nature. In philosophy, thinkers like Plato addressed the consequences of deception through their allegories. In the famous Allegory of the Cave, Plato exemplifies how people can live enveloped in illusions, unable to see the truth behind the shadows that surround them. This concept of deception in the perception of reality makes us question whether it is better to live in a comfortable illusion or face the painful truth. On the other hand, Jean-Paul Sartre's work deals with the concept of bad faith, where deception becomes a form of self-defense in an absurdly chaotic world. Through these representations, it becomes evident that literature and philosophy provide a fertile space to explore deception, not just as an act of dishonesty, but as a reflection of the complexities of the human condition and a way of questioning our own truths. Deception is a recurring theme in several literary and philosophical works that explore human nature and its complexities. Authors such as William Shakespeare, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and Franz Kafka, among others, weaved profound narratives that deal with the idea of deception in its most varied forms. In The Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare presents deception as both a tool of justice and a mechanism of manipulation, where appearances often disguise the character's true intentions. This exploration of moral contradictions in ambiguous situations sheds light on how deception can challenge perceptions and reveal underlying truths about human nature. In philosophy, thinkers like Plato addressed the consequences of deception through their allegories. In the famous Allegory of the Cave, Plato exemplifies how people can live enveloped in illusions, unable to see the truth behind the shadows that surround them. This concept of deception in the perception of reality makes us question whether it is better to live in a comfortable illusion or face the painful truth. On the other hand, Jean-Paul Sartre's work deals with the concept of bad faith, where deception becomes a form of self-defense in an absurdly chaotic world. Through these representations, it becomes evident that literature and philosophy provide a fertile space to explore deception, not just as an act of dishonesty, but as a reflection of the complexities of the human condition and a way of questioning our own truths. Philosophical perspectives on illusion are deeply intertwined with the concept of deception, as people often inhabit a world of distorted perceptions, guided by desires, fears, and expectations. Philosophers such as René Descartes and David Hume dedicated part of their work to the analysis of perception and the nature of reality. Descartes, in his Meditations, suggests that even things that may seem true, even the existence of an external world, can be questioned through the possibility that an evil deceiver may be manipulating our perceptions. This implies that truth, as we know it, can be a subjective construction and susceptible to manipulation. On the other hand, Hume argues that our perceptions are formed not only by reason but also by emotions and personal experiences. In this view, illusion is not just a deception, but an essential part of how we understand the world. Through this lens, illusion takes on a more complex quality as it invites us to reflect on how reality is shaped by our own beliefs and experiences. This reflection can be liberating, as it reveals that although illusion and deception can be slippery slopes, they also offer an opportunity to re-examine our truths and seek a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. These philosophical perspectives on illusion urge us to consider the importance of deception, not just as an act of dishonesty, but as an expression of the ongoing search for truth in a world filled with ambiguity and uncertainty. The information age brought with it an immense variety of content, but it also opened doors for the spread of what we call fake news and disinformation. These phenomena are deeply rooted in contemporary society and reveal how deception can be used as a tool of manipulation. Often, small groups or individuals create false stories with the aim of influencing public opinions or promoting specific agendas. The reach of social media, for example, amplifies these messages, bringing them to a global audience in a matter of minutes. This dynamic can result in devastating social consequences, such as extreme polarization and distrust between different groups, creating a reality where the truth often becomes subjective. Furthermore, the drive for clicks and engagement often prioritizes sensationalism over veracity, making it difficult for audiences to discern between truth and deception. The fame of information sites is often built not only on the fact that they inform, but also on their ability to appeal to the emotional, often manipulating information to create narratives that resonate with fears, hopes, and prejudices. To deal with this scenario, it is essential to promote media literacy, encouraging the public to consume information in a critical and conscious way, always questioning the origin and veracity of what is read or shared. Therefore, the impact of deception in modern technologies, especially through fake news, cannot be underestimated, demanding collective action to mitigate it and restore trust in the information we consume every day. In the world of gaming and entertainment, deception can be seen in both positive and negative ways. In games, strategic deception, a tactic that often involves the use of deception and trickery, is essential for adding a layer of complexity that enriches the player's experience. Strategies like bluffing in card games illustrate how deception can create excitement and unpredictability, making the game more intriguing. Furthermore, in game narratives, we are often confronted with twists and turns that force us to rethink our perceptions about the characters and the story behind the gameplay. On the other hand, the entertainment industry also faces challenges with deception that can harm the consumer experience. For example, movie and game trailers often use editing techniques to create expectations that do not match the final product, leading to frustration and distrust. This type of deception is dangerous as it can alienate fans and weaken the relationship between the consumer and the brand. Therefore, even in entertainment where deception can be part of the game, it is crucial that there is a balance that respects the integrity of the product and honesty with the audience. Deception in games and entertainment, when used ethically, can enrich experiences. However, when applied deceptively, it can compromise credibility and consumer satisfaction. The increasing integration of artificial intelligence, AI, into our daily lives raises complex ethical questions about deception. As AIs become more sophisticated, there is a fine line between artificial creativity and deliberate deception. An obvious example is the use of deepfakes, where technology can create videos that look incredibly realistic but feature public figures in situations that never occurred. This ability can be used for both entertainment and disinformation, and the potential for manipulation is alarming. Similarly, virtual assistants like Siri and Alexa use machine learning algorithms to understand and respond to the user, but deception can manifest itself in their limitations and failures in understanding. If an assistant recommends something to us based on erroneous data, it could negatively impact our decision. This requires a deep ethical understanding of what it means to deceive and how far we can go when employing these technologies. As a society, we need to consider the limits of deception in AI and ensure there is transparency in how these tools operate and interact with us. Having an ethical code that addresses deception in AI is critical to mitigating risks and ensuring that we use this technology in a responsible and beneficial way for everyone. Combating technological deception, especially in the digital age, requires a multifaceted approach. First, it is imperative to invest in education and awareness among the population about the dangers of misinformation and fake news. This includes promoting fact-checking skills, where people can identify false information and understand sources. Another effective action involves collaboration between social media platforms and fact-checking agencies to create an environment where truthful information is prioritized. Furthermore, more robust legislation should be considered to hold those who create and disseminate fake news accountable, thus increasing awareness of the consequences of this misleading behavior. Technological tools can also be developed to help identify misleading information, such as algorithms that flag potentially false content before it goes viral. Beyond technology, promoting open and honest discourse about deception and its implications is crucial. This involves conversations in school, professional, and family settings, allowing the public to explore how deception can not only be harmful but also, in some cases, functional. In short, combating technological deception requires a joint effort between education, technology, and social responsibility, creating a space where truth can thrive and trust can be restored. Deception is an inherent characteristic of human nature. Since ancient times, human beings have used distortions of the truth as a defense mechanism. This tendency can be observed in small, everyday lies, which often aim to protect feelings and preserve relationships. Furthermore, the need to belong to social groups often leads individuals to deceive or omit themselves in certain circumstances. However, while deception can protect and help maintain social interactions, it can also generate conflict, misunderstanding, and distrust. The duality of deception, being both a tool of emotional survival and an agent of potential destruction, reveals the intricate fabric of the human experience. Reflecting on deception as an intrinsic part of humanity helps us understand that, without it, our way of life, communication, and relationships could be profoundly changed. Understanding and accepting that we are all susceptible to deception can create a space of empathy where we can deal with the complexity of personal interactions in a kinder, more understanding way. How we live with truth and lies. The relationship between truth and lies is complex and multifaceted, especially as we navigate our lives. We are often faced with situations where we need to walk a fine line between what is appropriate to say and what should be kept confidential. It's clear that most of us prefer honesty, but reality teaches us that we don't always have the luxury of being completely transparent. Living with lies is something we all experience, and this interaction teaches us about emotional, social, and ethical nuances. We often accept small untruths in everyday conversations, such as when we avoid mentioning what we really think about a situation in order to keep the peace or protect someone's feelings. We also see this phenomenon in social actions, where patience and courtesy can require concessions. Furthermore, family dynamics often require us to throw out certain truths that could be harmful. These situations can generate an ongoing state of ambivalence regarding the morality of deception. It's a dilemma that, if recognized and worked through, can teach us not only about human nature, but also about how to relate to each other in a healthier way, avoiding misunderstandings. Therefore, living is, in essence, learning to balance truth and lies, recognizing that both have their places and functions in our daily lives. Deception. What have we learned? Throughout our lives, the experiences we accumulate teach us valuable lessons about deception. First, we notice how frequently it appears in our daily lives. From the small lies told to avoid hurting someone to the big mistakes that can have significant implications, we learn to recognize deception as a constant in our interactions. The deception we go through often teaches us about empathy and the emotions of others. We often use small untruths as a way of managing the impact we can have on others' lives. Second, a fundamental point that many of us realize is that deception is not just a matter of deceit, but a social skill. We learn to use our discernment to understand when it is acceptable to deviate from the truth and when we should, in fact, be honest. This skill is essential in modern life, providing a way to navigate a world where interpersonal relationships are often complex. Lastly, understanding the role of deception in our lives leads to a greater sense of self-awareness. When we are able to reflect on our actions and the reasons behind our lies, we create a space for personal growth. In this sense, we can not only recognize where we may have failed, but also where we have acted with integrity. The future of deception in our lives. As society evolves and transforms, the nuances of deception adapt as well. With the advancement of technology and social media, we are in an era where information is widely accessible, but misinformation proliferates around us. The future of deception will inevitably be linked to how we deal with truth and lies in a world where they are often mixed. The ability to discern what is real and what is an illusion becomes a critical skill. We need to arm ourselves with information and knowledge to avoid being deceived. At the same time, deception may also continue to play a protective role in our lives, whether through small lies that help preserve social integration or even avoiding painful confrontation in a scenario where honesty can result in emotional harm. However, growing awareness of the importance of authenticity makes it vital that we continue to reevaluate our choices about truth and lies. The future will be defined by the delicate balance between the need for deception and the search for more honest and clear communication. So, as we look toward the future, we need to consider how our interactions, built in a context of social ingenuity, have continued to shape the society in which we live, a place where transparency may eventually offer more benefits than deception. History teaches us that deception, although often viewed negatively, can play important roles in our social interactions, allowing us to preserve relationships and maintain peace. It is essential to find a balance between truth and lies, recognizing that total honesty is not always the only way to build trust and harmony in relationships. Share in the comments which story or example you would like to hear next. We are curious to know your opinions and experiences on the topic of deception. To what extent do you believe that small lies can be acceptable in our daily lives? Is it possible to live without deception? Or are they an inevitable part of the human experience? If you like this content and want to explore more stories that reflect on human nature, subscribe to our channel and don't miss the next video.